Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. Izotope is a proud sponsor of today's episode. Do you know about their new RX12? This is the way to make your audio flawless, all-in-one audio restoration. RX's 50-plus tool ecosystem is everything you need to rescue, refine, and enhance every project, blending surgical control with rapid results. Fully flexible, RX12 includes a standalone audio editing application and suite of software plugins to use in digital audio workstations. For decades, RX has pushed what's possible in audio editing and restoration, bringing out magic in every scene, song, and story. Powered by pioneering machine learning tech, it's the supporting star behind countless Oscar, Grammys, Emmys, and the winner of a Technical Academy Award. Go get this for yourself. Izotope RX12. It's out. IZOTPE.com. For 60 years, Heel Sound has provided innovative, professional, quality sound for stage, studio, broadcast, and podcast. Grammy-winning artists and sound engineers worldwide trust Heel microphones for their legendary sound. To find out more about the full line of Heel microphones and products, visit heelsound.com. That's HEILSOUND.com. I'm using a Heel PR40 microphone right now. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Hyphenate Halftime. This is our show for Monday, May 11th. Happy Mother's Day to all who celebrate such holidays yesterday. Not that we're recording this on Sunday, May 10th, the day before that it came out or anything.
Yeah, we'd never.
No.
Why would you?
It's happening live. This is all happening live, right? Being straight into your ears whenever you listen to this, even if it's not Monday, May 11th. That voice you just heard.
Let's do it live.
Is my host, my always live host, Mr. Aaron Farley. How do you do, Mr. Aaron Farley? How was your Mother's Day?
We're doing it live.
Do it live. To play us out. What does this mean? To play? That's my favorite thing. To play us out is what screwed him up. What does that mean? To play us out? Sting. What is this? Sting? Sting? It's going to play us out? What does that mean? I'll do it.
There's such a, Mother's Day was great. Like, I believe just like yours, there was a slight amount of eating and hanging out, yep. and mostly driving.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds about right. Yep.
As is the Southland.
We discussed off mic before we pressed play or before we pressed record here. Yeah. How little sleep was had this weekend.
Yeah, not much sleep, a lot of driving, a lot of soccer for me, okay. And we had
a beautiful wedding and cruising up the coast,
and some friends,
yep. It's everything you want to be. I don't mind the drive. I don't mind the lack of sleep. I think it just accumulates. You know what I mean? It builds on you. Day after day, is what happens. And so my refractory time, I think I need more time in between craziness. I used to be able to be crazy for 6 months in a row straight, 365 days or whatever. But now it's like, that was one rough night of sleep. It's going to take me 2 months to recover.
Well, I think too that you have it rough because you have the lack of sleep, but then you also have little kids with the lack of sleep.
Oh yeah.
Which makes it, which ups it by like 10% or 20%, whatever, ups your lack of sleep by 20% minimum. Mm-hmm. And then they are on the top, but then you can't go off and just relax. Like, I need an hour, whatever. It's really hard to do that. And, because you also know that if you're doing that, then your partner is also taking the brunt of whatever is happening. And so then you're feeling bad about that. And like, should I really be napping now? Or can I whereas when our kids are older, I'm like, where'd the kids go? Like, Lila went with her friend. She took the car, and Towns is off, like on his motorcycle or playing video games with his friends or whatever. I haven't even seen them for 4
Oh,
hours.
great.
We're good. I can go nap and I not feel guilty.
Sounds like no one's looking for
So
me.
it gets better.
Okay.
It gets better
All right.
when they're older. Like you do get, even with some bad nights of sleep, you do get an hour to yourself here and
There's
there.
some time for personal contemplation.
Although you stop wanting it. I'm like, what? Where are the kids? I thought, weren't we gonna go hang out?
That's
We're
true.
gonna go on a hike or something? And they're like, well, but I have I'm like, go ahead.
Yeah.
You
You got
go
social engagements.
hang out. Go hang out with your real friends, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. You can't have it. You never really win in those situations.
And you're like, I wish I had some little crying kids that just needed a hug every once in a while.
I did see a kid eat a hash brown off the floor this morning at Mother's Day breakfast. And then,
well, I almost had a kid eat a candy off the floor in my classroom on Friday.
Yeah,
he was sniffing it first, which is good. And I'm like, "Are you going to pick that up with your mouth?" And he's like, "What? No, I was just seeing if it was edible or not." And I'm like,
"If it's on the floor, it's your first sign."
It's technically everything is edible. Let's start there.
Yeah. Whether
most things on the floor are not what
it's not
you
a
want
good
to
idea.
eat.
Yeah.
You could consume that.
Will it fit in your mouth and go through your digestive tract?
Yeah,
probably.
That is true. Hopefully, it won't get stuck.
Will there be ramifications? Probably.
Probably. Yeah. This is how we get things like the hantavirus.
Oh, so much fun. I want to welcome any new listeners we may have. The last week's episode of Hyphenate with Gary Panter, I think had a big engagement. It was a lot of fun to see people really excited about the show, and hopefully they stick around and listen to our foolishness. Well, the format of this podcast, for right or wrong, better or worse, through sickness and in health, through good times and bad, is I do the interviews on Thursday with noted creatives in one form or another. Maybe they're active in many genres if we fulfill the promise of the concept of the hyphenate idea. Doesn't always happen, but that's usually what happens on a Thursday. And then over the weekend, we mess around and Aaron and I both have children, and we run around and we're dads. We're trying to fix things and take kids to sporting events. And then Monday, we talk about what we did over the weekend. And then I reset and then I interview somebody on Thursday again. Does that sound about right, Aaron? Is that right? I mean,
we talk a little bit about the actual interview a little bit. The good thing is I get to listen to it and be surprised, because I never know what the interview is going to be. So I listen to it on my way to work, and then and it's always a surprise. And this one was amazing. I have to say, I know the work of Gary Panter, and I know the basic history that most people probably know, like the Pee Wee Herman and all that. But I didn't know about the Screamers.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then I didn't know his just insanely
his
integral part of the early punk scene. And literally this person that I was dating for a while was the manager of the Germs.
Oh yeah.
And all of that kind of stuff was just fascinating. And I agree that I feel like there's a couple people I'm waiting for a couple second interviews.
Oh,
and I feel like
Gary
Panter would be one of them for sure, because I feel like that was
way too short,
very literally scratching the surface.
Yes.
And he also was so good at talking and telling stories without it going so long or being I don't know, it was cool. It was just a really great conversation. I was sitting there listening, and then I know it was a short one because it was Zoom, but that 45 minutes, it was oh man, we got 5 minutes left. And I'm like, no, we didn't even get to 1986 yet or whatever. It was great.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
I may have to just pay for the Zoom pros, because what inevitably happens, again, if we're, we'll pull the curtain back a little bit on just the process here and how we do this. I use Riverside, that's what we're using now. This Riverside.fm program is great, but there's a level of technology and just websiting. It's a website. It's not anything hyper technical, but it does involve some clicking of buttons and everything to be, running at a certain speed, internet wise. And I've found for my older guests, that there's often some log jam somewhere, whether it's the age of the browser or the computer or the internet speed or something. So then Zoom ends up being our default, because that sort of works everywhere. But then they only give you the 40 minutes for free. And then by the time we get it up and running, there's about 5 minutes, eaten up, just making sure the mics are working and everything's working. And then it goes. But I would love to. I mean, yeah, I was hurting as the episode was ending. I'm like, no, I wanted.
I know you're watching the time.
Yes, yeah, and yeah, right. And that's the thing too, is it just stops at 40 minutes. I'm like, no, it doesn't even just stop recording. The whole thing just stops and goes black. So I'm really racing the clock. I don't know what Zoom Pro costs, but maybe I will invest in that. Maybe that's what all the ads pay for the Zoom Pro.
Well, and there's got to be something that is, somewhat affordable. I would imagine.
I would think so. I think it can't be terrible. Google Teams or something. I don't know, but but it's really one of those things where, 9 times out of 10 Riverside does work ish, pretty close and pretty easy. Right. But then, but the bigger thing. So not to rewind too much, but the format is interviews on Thursday, wrap up on Monday. And the why is I like doing interviews. I think it's fun, talking to specific people. It's mostly an interview format show. But what I miss is the just dicking around and just talking shit about the day aspect of so many of my favorite podcasts. I have so many of my favorite podcasts are about movies or music or something stupid, and there's just friends talking. And I find, the interview thing, I want to interview people I don't really know, because that makes it for an interesting interview. But then I miss out on the talking around culture of of the internet. So that's sort of, this is a way to scratch 2 itches at once. Does it work?
Yeah. Totally.
I don't know. I think it kind of works. I think it's fun. If it does it
works for me.
Yeah. If you're enjoying it, I enjoy it quite a bit. I think this process works for me. You can write us at hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com. You can find us on the Instagram at Aaron Farley, at Randy S. Randall. We are available for conversations, for critique, for comment, if you want. I'm
please.
We're not doing this
Put
in a vacuum, in theory. But it was great to see a great outpouring, because obviously Gary has a lot of fans and people know who he is, and this is exciting. But yeah, he was one of those ones. There's a few people I poke ever so politely or impolitely, who I've met in my travels. I'm a musician. I play guitar in a band called No Age. We've been touring for 20 something years, and in those travels and in my life, and I've bumped into people and the people that I'm fans of or have become fans of. And so, especially on the older side of folks, north of 60 years old, I feel like time is of the presence sometime, hey, I would like to really sit down and have a great interview with you. And, but everyone's got lives, and not everybody wants to sit and chat about, on a podcast, so I'm glad it worked with Gary.
I love also, and I've said this a million times in the past, because, but I do love because of your situation, the band that you were in, and because you grew up in Los Angeles in a scene from the age of probably 14, pretty much, or even younger, going to shows and seeing bands.
I wasn't contributing much at that age, but I was going to.
But I mean, going to shows. Sure. You were going to shows with your brother, and you were being carted around to all these places, and so you have a sense of how this place that is the greater Los Angeles area kind of runs and ran in creatively. Yeah. And I think that because of that, and all those people that you've met along the way, that there is a trust that even with these bands and these people that you don't really know, or maybe you've met once or twice, that you have enough of I don't know what you would call it, like a cachet, or enough information. Enough people have said that's cool. Or I've done that show, or we played shows with those guys. They're awesome. Whatever, that the interviews come off as being very, just like a conversation.
Oh, good.
And genuine.
I hope. And
I don't feel like, very rarely have I felt like the person is sitting there trying to sell their new record, or whatever however that whole thing
right yeah
works. I do feel like if you go back and listen to most of them, that either you have a personal reference to that person, whether you played shows with them before, or there's a skateboarder you worked with, or there's someone that you met on a photo shoot, or something like that.
It's
That
it's
there has been there's like a through line that I feel like the conversations are very comfortable, and there's a lot of information that gets divulged because the people feel comfortable to just talk, and they don't feel like they're
well, and it's kind of for
selling.
better or worse. I mean, the people I pull, the talent pool that I pull from for the interviewees is basically people I know in one form or another. And so it's, I mean, as much as I would love to interview Dua Lipa or Billie Eilish, I don't know if I don't know them, and they don't know me. So it's not how, whatever the greater talent world at writ large. I don't know if I'm on the map of those people.
Were you born as William
Lipa? Billie
Eilish.
I was like, why is Dua Lipa Will? Maybe she was. Dua is short for William. But getting back to Gary, he was somebody. I think I talked about it on the podcast. We played some shows, and it was really through Chris Johansson's band Sunfoot. I was trying to think back. I was like, how did we all meet up? And I think Chris was putting together a run of shows. And Chris again would be a great person to interview, on the podcast. I should reach out to him. But he put this whole thing together, and it was great to, I think we were kind of on, it was a funny because we had a record coming out, but then they had some shows booked. So we did like a 10-day tour before the record came out. And then we kind of did like our record release show, or right around that time. It was like, right. So it worked out timing wise, but it was also kind of funny. We're like, oh, we just got to make this work for them. And, and it was great having Sunfoot and then the Devin, Gary, and Ross band, open for us for these shows. And they weren't huge shows, but we played the Hammer Museum in LA, and that was really fun. Awesome. There was a big kind of arts sort of crossover there. And then we did the West Coast run, and then we did East Coast, or it was for the Midwest. We started in Chicago, went to New York, and played at this Coney Island sort of art festival, and then back, and then I think through Canada and Detroit and things. And so that was really cool.
All in 10 days.
I think so. I think those are both like pretty quick trips. But if you're playing every day, you can get to Chicago and LA and back. It's a decent tour run there. Did I tell the story? I forget with Gary about when Gary drew on the drywall in the garage. Did we talk about this?
Yes.
Okay.
The kids in the kids' backyard or something.
Yeah, we played in a backyard in Humboldt or Arcata, and Gary, was just drawing on drywall. It was like a punk kind of garage thing. I was like, oh, I wish I wanted to like cut it out and take it, and frame it. But then as we were leaving that, I don't know how much it got into it, but there was like a kid trying to open our door, and I sped up to where the kid kind of tumbleweed off. Yeah, that's still one of my favorite tour stories, because I think Chris Johansson was behind us and saw it all happening. He was like, trailers, like, what are those guys? What's that kid doing? Why is that kid trying to, he was like a zombie kind of like, coming out of the fields, like to attack our car. And then I remember at the time, like everybody in the car was like freaking out a little bit, like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, I think it's going to be okay. I have a gas pedal here. Hold on. I'm just going to keep accelerating till this person decides it's not a good idea to keep trying to open our car door. We don't really have to stop and let this person in the car, especially if they're like, at first I was like, does he need help? And they're like, no, he's really being aggressive. He's trying to break into the car. I'm like, but we're moving. He can't break into a moving car. There's a lot of things that don't work about that. I'm just going to keep accelerating until a person decides to let go of the car, but he held on longer than he should have. I was like, okay, well,
oh my God,
I'm not going to stop the car.
I think the acid was holding him on. Wasn't Gary saying like, I think all those kids were on acid or something. I think that was a weird show.
I think that might've been what it was. There was some extra human substances being ingested.
Yeah.
So those were really fun memories. And then I remember we were like watching VHS tapes in like Baltimore at this club Floristry, which was a cool kind of like warehouse, sort of, Dan Deacon related, Future Islands related big warehouse in Baltimore. It was fun. They had like a little kind of green room, or it was just somebody's room, those kind of like punk warehouse places where people would build their own rooms out of plywood and found objects. And someone's room, we were just all chilled out on a couch watching like a huge like thrift store VHS collection of things in between sound check and the show starting, like being really cold, like freezing, like in full like winter gear, just kind of like watching something on TV and like, wow,
that is one thing that I do miss about being young and also doing creative things when you're young, is showing up to those spots that someone lucked out on, or someone was like, yeah, I don't know. My uncle owns this place, and he has like some kind of factory or something in the front, and he lets our band practice here in the night, and then you show up, and it's like 4,000 square feet.
Yes, yes.
And it's a huge open place. They're like, yeah, we just have to move the clothing racks out of the way, and then Bob built his room over there, and so now so and so lives here, and yeah, I don't know, we're cool with it. There's not really a bathroom here,
Right.
but
There's a
and
bucket, and we made a cool like arts, blanket
yeah,
that goes over
and
the
you're like,
bucket.
how long have you been here? It's 10 years, I think. And you're like, oh my
Yes.
god, LA was full of those places, especially the early 2000s, and like warehouse district. Like who had Brian had that spot that was not 6th Street warehouse, but what was the other place that was right across the street from the rehearsal studios?
Oh,
Um, what was that?
down on Santa Fe.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That was it. Became
Remember
an
that
art
place?
it became an art gallery.
Eventually,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
it became
Okay.
a big art gallery.
Yeah, yeah.
But Brian had that spot for years, and I think he paid 2,000 for that. And it was probably 6,000 square feet. How big was that place? It had like 10 rooms. He had like 10 rooms. There were all these people that like we'd do art shows there and whatever. And then the main area was the size of like a big club. Like 1,000 kids could fit in there for sure. And then eventually he put a stage there. I saw Sonny GSL. What was his band?
Year Future?
No, the one after that.
Oh gosh,
The Year Future.
Year Future was
No, maybe it was Year
yeah,
Future.
Yeah.
No, it probably was Year Future. Yeah, I saw all these great bands play there. But again, he was
He
like,
knew
yeah, I don't
somebody.
know. It's $2,000, and
No questions
I
asked.
figured like
Yeah.
I could find $2,000 a month just doing shows. Like, dude, this place is insane.
Yeah.
And then 6th Street Warehouse had the full half pipe in it, and like
all the
whole
giant
thing.
silk screen setups.
Oh my god, Shepard worked in there had his set up in there for a while. Yeah,
yeah.
all that stuff.
Oh my god.
Saw Melvins play there. Saw HR from Bad Brains play
on the
with
floor of a skate ramp of a half pipe.
Yeah, with the dudes from with like 4 of the dudes from Fishbone. Just like those random, you'd get a call and like HR's here, is playing with Fishbone or
Okay.
whatever that was, and then I think you guys
we played there.
Oh wait, that's
where I met my
think
wife.
We played with Big Business. That was the show, right?
Yeah.
That was the show.
Yeah.
I think we opened for that show for Big Business that night.
It's incredible. Yeah, no, all those things are just so fun. Yeah, so it was cool to kind of get to cruise with Gary a little bit and see some of that stuff. All whatever 2013. But again, the stories, it's just one of those things. It's like, okay, well, we're just hanging out, and you'd hear some stories. I was like, but I know there's so much more, and I didn't want to bother the poor guy. This was 13 years ago. But at the same time, I was also, so curious. I want okay, whatever Gary's stories are. So I'm glad, we've kept in touch since those tours, and yeah, it's awesome. It's really fun. I'm glad, but there's so many stories. I mean, it really is that punk Zelig sort of thing, but that's so much of the spirit that, like we always talk about, like, just go do it. Just go be somewhere, go do something, and you'll find things. But again, he's, also insanely talented, and still to this day, it's funny. I wasn't following his Instagram until I posted the thing. I was like, oh, of course. Yes. Of course. He just posts all these great, sketchbooks. He's just always making things, and his mind's working.
It's so amazing. Well, and I loved what he said too, because I think about this all the time, that when he was, when people say, oh, what was it like? And blah, blah, blah. And he was like, it was like hanging out with your friends. I don't know. It wasn't it. You're not going through something going, this is legendary. You're like a dirty place with your friends, and they're playing music. And then 10 years later, people look back and go, you were at that show? And you're like, yeah, I think I wandered there. I don't know.
Right.
Like it, because I think about it too. And one of the things that I kind of regret a bit of photo wise, because it was always kind of in the back of my brain, that you look at all those books of the 70s and then the 80s, and it's just people like taking pictures of their friends, like someone sitting in a diner or whatever. And at the time you're like, this is an unimportant photo.
Oh,
right? It's like no one's going to want a photo of my friend sitting at a diner. It's kind of, it's fine. But then historically, you look back and it gets to be 20 years, 30 years. And then you look back and you go, oh my God, this looks old. This is like a time and a place and a thing. Like diners like that don't really exist anymore. Fashion is totally different. Ketchup bottles look different. Salt shakers look different. The windows look different. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you look back in history and you go, God, I do wish I would have just sat back and go, I'm this isn't for now, this is for later. And
Oh my
like
God.
especially as a photographer, it's
Yeah.
like that's there really is that part of it that's the history. And I think music probably is the same thing. It's like make your record now because you think it might be like whatever, but it also like you might listen to it back 20 years 30 years later and go, oh my God, that was such a time. Like no one uses those instruments anymore, or even now, like no one uses those plugins anymore, whatever. It was like became a time, like even when you listen to the early 2000s music, and it kind of, to me, when we were going through that, it was like, oh, this is fun, but all this music, whatever, it's kind of it's throwback music. Like this kind of sounds like the Gang of Four,
Oh,
and
right.
this
Right. Yeah.
band sounds kind of like heavy metal. This kind of it sounded there was a lot of, because of the internet, I think there was a lot of like, oh, let's go back and find these older bands and make new stuff. But then now when you listen to 2000 to 2015, it sounds like 2000 to 2015. It does not sound like Gang of Four,
Right. Of
right?
course
It
not. Yeah.
doesn't sound like that stuff. It sounds like they're like, oh, at the time it was like, yeah, these bands are cool, like this is, I really like this one song, whatever. But now you listen to that and like, oh, it's so genuinely that moment in time, because it is mixed with whatever was new. It's mixed with the new synthesizers, and it's mixed with people doing sampling and doing all of these things that at the time were like, yeah, no, that's cool, that's great. But now you listen back and like, oh, this is really of that moment. But it's hard. You can't, when you're in that moment, it hasn't been like the other stuff hasn't been edited out yet to get like the core really great things that stick around.
Yeah.
And so I thought
Yeah.
that was cool when he was talking about that too, of like, yeah, I wish I would have sat there and gone like, this is all, whatever. But like, who, you can't do that. You don't know what it's going to be like.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Yeah. How, we're extras in so many other people's stories, and you don't
Right.
realize how important it is, or you think you're the main person in the story. And then you look back and go, oh, but this was the person who was the star,
Right.
it's funny. The director with No Age did a video for our first single for Sub Pop called Eraser, and we did it with Andy Bruntel, this great director. And anyway, we had coffee the other day, and he gave me a hard drive of all the like outtakes, like all the unused footage. I mean, all the footage. I think he just had hard drives of all the footage from us making this video. And the first idea was this kind of party at our house that, I was renting a little back house off Melrose in La Brea for about 10 years while I went to college. And then after college, it sort of became more of a punk sort of party house kind of thing. And we had a skate ramp in the backyard and all these things. And so the idea was to just shoot the video there. And none of that footage from that party day really made it into the music video for some reason. So I'm sure there's a whole other music video of just the outtakes of that first day. So then because I think what it was is everybody was just hanging out and partying, and there wasn't really a director or a narrative or anything in it. And for whatever, and again, we were just the talent. Like, I didn't know what we're supposed to be doing, but they asked if they could shoot a music video at our house. Like, sure, let's do it. And then, so then we got together like a week later and then shot it at someone else's house. It was more of like a set, like a location, a controlled location with people in wardrobe and lights and props. And, then I wrote a treatment, I guess. And it was more of a thing, but the first day it was just all these really nice high definition cameras of 2008,
So
like shooting a party at our house. Like it's something that would happen regardless of if we were
so cool
trying to do anything or not. But looking at the audience is the funny part, and it's like, oh, that's like Ty Segall, like he's I don't know, probably 20 years old there, and you realize like, oh, like that's so much more interesting for to watch Ty than to watch us. Like I don't really care about us, but it's like, look at that, like this was we're extras in Ty's story, and depending on which way you turn the camera, but just seeing so many other little friends too, it's like, oh, look, there's this person, there's that person, oh, that's so cool. Rarely would you get a full camera crew with
Yeah,
even though it's not particularly interesting,
totally.
it isn't particularly like maybe it's not music video worthy. No one's throwing slow motion flour in anyone's faces or anything, anything cinematic,
Yeah.
but it's just people standing around drinking like a crate of Four Loko that we got from the show, from a sponsored Four Loko event the night before or something, So I was like, okay. That was hilarious.
That's so funny. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Is that the one? Wasn't there like moving furniture or something in that video?
That was the
That's
next cycle. So that was the Patrick Daughters directed
okay.
For Everything in Between. And that song was called Fever Dreaming. That's where we shot that at a warehouse that Don Bowles from the Germs either ran or like managed or something. It was a warehouse down in Meat Pack. What's where all the butchers are south of downtown? It's called not Cypress. It's called there's a whole area that just smells like butchers, like
fish markets and stuff.
Yeah, I always think of it. There's like a giant mural of pigs and farm creatures.
Yes, I had to buy a dead octopus once for a shoot.
So you had to go down to the meat district.
Yes.
I forget what that's called. But anyway, it was a warehouse down there, and again, it was like a controlled location and all that stuff. So, but I mean, it was funny that we were hanging out there, and we were like Don came through, and we kind of knew Don, a little bit from DJs and things.
Seeing him around with his big boots.
Yep, and his crazy hats and everything else, But it's all, again, it's just all those funny moments, right? It's like, oh yeah, we shot that video with Patrick Daughters, and all of the furniture was on wires and all got pulled. So it was like the frame of the video was like pushing everything physically in on the thing, and then it shredded everything. So that was
that's right.
Yeah, that was that video. Remember music videos? Weren't those cool?
Oh my god, some budget,
Vernon.
A little bit of budget.
Is Vernon? Does that sound right?
Vernon? Yeah, totally. Because that's where there's a bunch of warehouses down there too that are practice spaces.
Yes, yeah. I feel like I always talked about Carrie. Like maybe they shot parts of Carrie, the Brian De Palma, Stephen King movie down there. Maybe
that's something you would know.
Maybe that's where they got all the blood from. Yeah, exactly. That's on the movie side of things.
And you can get like sugar glass down there.
Is that right? Yes, right. Yeah, it's always
probably. I remember buying sugar glass once from
prop markets
from for a Liars.
Oh right, yeah.
Photo shoot.
Yep. Yeah. So
the whole budget went to sugar glass and that the Indian holly dust.
Yeah. So
that might still be at the Day 19 studio in the cracks of the floor.
I was going to say, it's still inside of your toenail beds. It's
there was pink dust in the cracks of that floor. The secret is never try to clean up holly dust with water.
Why?
Because it will never. Well, you sweep it up before. This is if you're, because it sinks into the water and then it will stain everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you gotta
just in case.
If anybody
you guys are doing
has buckets of holly dust at your friend's owned photo studio,
sweep it up dry and suck it up into a vacuum.
Don't get water.
Unless you're cool with like pink and green
staining
floors.
Everything for decades,
especially concrete. Yeah.
Oh my god,
fun times.
Yeah.
Oh, but I have a Don Bowles.
Oh yeah,
which is very funny because this is like a Germs episode also.
Sure.
But that first, I mean, it had to have been my first month in LA. And we were going around, it's like going to parties and you hear about a show and I'm following around because I know nobody. I know Travis Keller and Aaron North. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the only two people.
That's a big crew of people too. I mean, there's a story in there.
Yeah, and they had a whole buddy.
There's a lot of main
at that point.
A lot of main character energy in that group of people.
Well, it was definitely if we were going to know a couple people in LA and needed to get thrown right into the middle of the belly of the beast. Like these are the two, and so they're like, hey, there's an outdoor show in a field somewhere in LA, and I'm like, there's a field in LA, I don't know, and but it probably was in Highland Park or I don't know, some site, one of those places now that seemed so far away. And we show up and it's like kind of sunset's happening and there's these dudes set up in a field but on a hill, like on a hillside, and they're dressed up like they're just dressed crazy, and this is like 2000, and they start playing and I'm like, I can't tell if this is a joke or if this is real. but I think maybe it was a little bit of both, but it was a band called Death Bread,
Oh,
and Don Bowles was the drummer.
okay.
And then I think even at that point, I didn't even know who the Germs were. So I'm like, I don't know who Don Bowles is. Oh my God, he's the drummer of the Germs. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
he's definitely a
And
character
we went
in
there,
his own right. I
and
mean,
I'm
you
like,
figure like
this is
he played in
amazing.
the Germs for, maybe 2 years, but then the rest of his
Yeah.
life, he was just an insane person around LA.
Yeah, and was DJing and
Yeah.
was like in different bands, and
Yeah.
one of those people where you're like, how do you make money or whatever? But they're always around, they're always doing stuff, and you'd hear about different bands, whatever. But I have photos. I have to dig those photos up. Death Bread,
Huh.
and the lead singer kind of was dressed in the same fashion as Don, but he had long blonde hair.
Okay.
Maybe they were shirtless, which probably, but like I remember kind of the big boots and everything. And his name was Deathy
Huh.
from Death Bread. Deathy.
I don't know if I knew him.
And I was like, this is right where this is not what I thought LA was going to be like. And I'm here for it. This is the best. I love this. I want more of this. This is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's,
So
definitely
fun.
that. Yeah. The Gary story, of just coming from Texas and getting, just kind of ingrained in underground comic books, and then that,
So
that
cool.
relationship between underground comic books and punk, and the punk flyers and punk record covers and Slash magazine and these, this sort of thing. It's just really that fluidness of culture, right? It's like, okay, well, comic books are not separate from music. And that's, those are, if you're into one, then you're into the other. And it's, there's just an overlap of all things. And then the Pee Wee Herman connection. It just takes it's just such a cherry on such an otherwise insane thing. Did you watch the Paul Rubens documentary?
Yes.
We only got through the first part, just again, going back to the having children being tired all the time thing. I have a long list of things I'd love to do with more time, but somehow a nap will supersede moments. But it's a beautiful story. I mean, and you can kind of see the creative force that Paul Rubens is, but also how difficult it was to work with them as well. You know what I mean? I think there's moments of Gary in that documentary when he was younger, being interviewed, but it sounded like, they were fighting all the, they were making things and fighting about things. But Gary was in there, especially for the live stage show part of it.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And even his stories of like, oh my God, I love Paul Rubens. We fought all the time. I think we were fighting for like who owned what and how much money he owed me for 10 years or whatever. Like, yeah, that's how I am realizing that the way to get anything done in any kind of creative business is being okay with arguing like 80% of the time with people. And being okay with it. I think sports is kind of like that way too. I'm seeing like as our kids get older and like playing some sports or whatever, I'm like, to get good at this, you really have to be okay with like fighting with your teammates and then hugging it out like every minute. And I think art and music and everything is kind of that way. Like legendary bands fight all the time and hate each other and then come together and make this amazing creative genius from whatever that is. And then, obviously you're not always fighting, but you see that like, well, if you want to do the thing that you want to do, you do have to fight for it. Like literally sometimes and seeing it and I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like you can't be very timid especially once you get to a certain level.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it means you're passionate. It means you care about it. And also, but that feeling of like, who owns what, I think there's a certain level of it too. Just, you got to make it all. And then if anybody gives a shit, then there's a lawyer after the fact, because really, if you spent the time getting the proper paperwork or negotiations together, you probably would never make the thing, not always, totally. But as even as an older person, you go through things and you realize, okay, well, here's the division of labor, or here's who's the division of royalties, or who owns this, who created that. And okay, we made something, and I own my 75%, or I own my 2 points of this thing. I think it's like, it's so horribly not creative. even if it's
Yeah.
lucrative or even if it is beneficial. But there's things, you know what I mean, with like, I would imagine, I don't know the details and whatever they're doing, but you know, Gary drew a picture of Paul's character. And
Right.
so, you know, you have to work that out. You know, the character wouldn't exist if
Yeah.
it wasn't for Paul, but that drawing wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Gary. You know what I mean? That's
Like
Gary's
maybe
artwork,
even,
you know? And so what do? You gotta, you know,
and maybe the Pee Wee Herman show would not exist in the way that
it
it does
wouldn't look the way it
because
is,
of
you know?
one set of marketing posters got a certain amount of people out to see it. You never know.
Yeah.
Like it is crazy. If we all had health care and we all had
Right.
a little bit of padding,
Yeah.
like
We wouldn't be
padding, that we weren't
each
so
other's
worried
eyes
about
out.
everything,
Yeah.
that we weren't clawing each other's eyes out for $10. All of these questions would be so much easier to deal with.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
But even under those conditions, I would imagine somebody's, you know, whenever there's an ability for someone to make more than someone else, someone's going to get pissed.
There would just be less of it.
You would hope. You would hope so. I think, you know, so many. It's a great example of just anybody that you know of. There's hundreds of people who supported them on their rise to basic cultural breakthrough. You know what I mean? If anybody who's ever been culturally relevant or has any kind of notoriety outside of, you know, their high school they went to, you know, it's like, okay, well, a lot of people helped them and some got paid and some didn't, and some did as a labor of love and all those things. And that's also a case for community. You know what I mean? Like that just means they're part of a big community, and that's sort of what happens. You know, you have a big talent pool you can pull from, you know, and you can figure out who all those people are. So it sounds, you know, it was a great collaboration for Gary as well, you know, just to sort of showcase his designs and putting it in a three-dimensional space. It reminded me a lot of the Abby Portner story, you know, where she was collaborating with Animal Collective and was doing drawings, and that turned into stage design, that turned into music videos, that turned into t-shirts, or, you know, all these kinds of things, but just having a person outside of the creative, you know, band or exact person, you know, but someone just doing the visual idea. You know, I think we know so much more of that now because of Instagram. I think our visual literacy or visual cultural like awareness or QED is so much stronger. You know, I think in this time in the 2020s than it was even in the 1980s. We're like, oh, hey, it's Pee Wee Herman, or it's Coca-Cola, it's Nike. And you're like, yeah, but those are all like designs. Those are graphic designs. Those are branding. That's marketing material, all of that stuff. You know, and we don't, but now we have the language for it. You know, it was just part of the culture there. But now we know, like, oh, so-and-so designed this thing.
Well, and I think the reason that artists even get paid now or have ownership of their work is because artists in the past fought really hard and threatened people and and got violent and made it happen, so that like, okay, fine, we'll give musicians a cut of their own music, or we'll let photographers own their, like, as a magazine cut, you know, because it used to be photographers would shoot for a magazine and then the magazine would just be like, well, those are ours now, you know. We paid you your $50 and now we get to use your cover for Life magazine for the rest of we get to make all the money from it. And then eventually photographers banded together and made unions and whatever and figured it out for magazines and for press unions and all that kind of stuff. And then it became the way that business was run for years, of like usage, and as a photographer you never sell your you never give away your rights to your image. You always use it, you license it, blah, 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 all that. But until corporations got stronger and stronger and stronger, you know, maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago again, it started coming back to this moment where all those companies were going like, well, there's so many photographers now. We'll just get you to sign this contract that's this called work for hire. And work for hire means that we're going to pay you a little bit more up front, but instead of you licensing these 4 that we're going to use, we're actually just going to buy 50 images that we're going to use forever. And then a lot of photographers were like, oh wait, we should band together. And then everyone's like, how do we band? Like there's no there's no banding
that
together.
extra $1,500. They're offering me another $1,500. I do need that.
Right. Because everything's so expensive now too, of like those little things of like the crumbs that people get. And listen, there's photographers and musicians who are making good money and at the top, but there used to be like a very healthy middle road for all of these things that you could have like a monicum of success. Is that how you say it? Medium?
Modicum?
Some kind of middle of the road success, like day-to-day work. And you could shoot for magazines and make a living. And now it's like, yeah, that's not, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you were shooting every single day.
But also, what's a magazine? What do you mean a magazine? How many magazines?
That's what I mean.
There's 5 magazines made that still get printed every year.
Because it used to be too. It's like if you're shooting the cover, you might even be contracted to shoot the covers, and you're making like
on salary,
$500,000 a year, whatever, or you're shooting. But I don't quite know how it works now. But I know that the price for shooting a magazine article in the 90s, like late 90s, was like $300 or something. You get paid for usage, for them to use your image. And then the price for shooting for a magazine in like 2018 was $300. It's the same price for the most part, you know? And so it became like, oh wait, it's not even sustainable. And so they're like, yeah, that's right. It's not sustainable. So what we're going to do, what's not sustainable for us is having to worry about usage. But I think that those things now, it's like, it's tough. I don't know. Yeah. For creative people, it's very tough.
I've asked you this question before. As a photographer who has shot bands, mm-hmm. I know it from the band on the stage side, but as the photographer, but I'll still, even to this day, in whatever project I'm doing is new band Nervous Action, you know, people will write, they'll see a listing and then they'll write, you know, go, I'm a photographer. Would you like me to come out and shoot photos of your band? And I'm always just like, what, huh? Wait, what is this? And then they're at the end, it's like, oh yeah, I only charge, you know, $50 and you get, you know, 500 photos or something. And I'm just like, for what? I don't know. I'm not really, you know, we're not really a band. I guess it'd be cool if somebody shot a nice photo, but I'm not thinking of contracting a photographer for a live photo shoot. I'm just, you know, I'm gonna go play a show to 10 people at a bar. I don't, you know, we're not really, I haven't really put together a marketing campaign for this project. So I haven't thought of hiring a photographer, but thanks for reaching out, you know. But I'm assuming, and I guess in the past, what would happen is people would just show up, you know, to a show and then just shoot photos. And then mm-hmm. sometimes they would reach out to you, or they'd reach out to somebody, they'd email you, or even, you know, somehow you'd find, or you'd see a picture of yourself somewhere and go, oh, whoa, okay, someone shot a photo. Yeah. But I'm always under the assumption that if someone shoots the photo, they own that photo. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And so in some ways it behooves them to just go shoot photos, because then they'll own that photo. I mean, but mm-hmm. I get it, you know, that the band might want to use one of those photos, and so they offer a fee, you know, if you want, you know, and then you have access to all these photos. And it would
depend on what. Yeah, I mean, I think in the past, if you're shooting those photos, probably you're shooting them just to build your portfolio at first and to have access and meet people. And I think that for me, it was like definitely a way to meet. I'm like, well, I want to meet these bands, and I'm really into music, and I want to shoot more photos of bands, but I don't really know how to do it. So I'll ask if I can get into the show just with a camera. I'll even pay for the show. But if you get on the list, that's even better. But then for the first, until you're getting good, you're just like, I'll just bring you some prints and mm-hmm. drop them off or whatever. And then, I mean, I was too dumb to do this, but what you should do is contact whoever's putting out the record and the label.
Oh, right.
And just say, hey, I just want to let you know I have photos of the band. If you ever need them for anything, or you're looking for photos for inserts or a cover or whatever.
That product that you've invested a few $1,000s in that you will be going to market with, that could use more marketing assets, you know, to marketing resources to.
And those are,
I have a bunch of those.
Even for big bands. Even for big bands, like even back then, it was like, I mean, not big, whatever, bigger indie bands and stuff that actually had little budget. it's like $100 or something. I don't know.
Still, yeah.
I probably wasn't pushing myself enough, but when you got onto the bigger records and stuff, then you get like real like creative budgets, and even if someone wanted to use a photo for a cover, you negotiate the price. And
Have you had any record covers from a photo that you've done?
Yeah, 2 Bronx. I did 2 of the Bronx
cool.
records.
Who put those out?
The one with the blood on the blood.
Oh, you did? You shot that? I didn't know that. How'd you guys do that?
Was that? I shot it, and it's. I shot it with the blood coming out, and then Joby photoshopped it. To the Bronx.
Oh, okay. So it didn't look like that the day of.
No,
I got you.
And then I did the one with the cover of the Swami cover with the ball, the crystal ball.
Oh, who was the woman whose face it was? Do you remember?
Wait, the woman
for the one with the blood? Is that a woman's face?
Oh, I think we shot it too. I think it was.
Now I'm looking at this. This is interesting. It looks like a woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Joby's wife.
Oh, okay. It looks very painterly. It looks cool. I remember it's a striking image.
It's Photoshop. Yeah. I mean, the image looks pretty similar. It's like very photoshopped, but most of it is like real. I didn't do any of the post work, but Joby is kind of a genius designer.
And he was in the band,
Photoshop.
Right? That was his.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
he was.
And then is this Jeremy Weiss? Was this Jeremy holding the crystal ball?
No, that's Joby.
Okay.
Yeah, and that literally we shot that him sitting on his couch in his like apartment.
Oh, that's so funny.
He bought like a little crummy crystal ball, and then he put all the like electricity in it with Photoshop.
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, those 2, and then I feel like I have another one. That's
cool.
I think those are the 2 main ones that we shot for the actual album.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. I mean, I definitely feel like, that's the one thing of, just having photos or having a body of visual work. I just think there's so much more value in visual like media post social media. You know what I mean?
You guys were so good at that. You guys were always good at bringing like a visual element to everything that you did that like kept it. I mean, I'm working with Brian.
Oh yeah.
But like keeping everything like as kind of a package, and record design and just how you guys did things was thoughtful.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're doing videos, like I remember pitching you one thing and you're like, no, but it was good because you actually had a reason why. And you're like, no, we're thinking this. And then it turned out great. It was that one during COVID. What was that one with the rotating sculpture?
Oh, that turned out awesome. Right. That was cool. But that was like
it was
a collaborative sort of thing. Yeah.
It was awesome. And the Bronx were great at that. Yeah. I mean, Joby ran that whole band, like it still does, I guess. I know Mariachi El Bronx is probably the more popular band now, the mariachi version.
Is he still in that? Is that?
I think so. I think they get. I see every once in a while, like, hey, we're going back out on tour, and they're playing like huge places.
That's awesome.
But the Bronx was huge in Australia.
Okay,
they were like they would go and do big headlining tours over there.
I never knew them personally. They were one of those bands that were there. I'm like, oh, okay, but they felt like a real band, or like, I don't know. They seemed like aggressive in a way where I was like, oh, okay, we're not. I don't know. like the shows were like you'd get in a fight at the show or something. Like, okay.
Yeah, it was definitely like it's definitely heavy dude music. I think like it was Southern California kind of like punk / I don't know. What would you call it? Because it's punk, but it's not. It's like rock. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of more akin to like Rocket from the Crypt or something. Or
like it definitely goes along with that kind of Swami Records vibe.
Yeah, is that who put them out? Were they on Swami?
No, they were on a. I feel like they were in a major for the first 2. I think. I don't know.
There you go. But
again, they also like supported. They had me and Jeremy both like shooting stuff with them and putting stuff out, and Bronx Book and all this stuff. Like they were the most supportive. They always called us first to do everything. It was awesome. And they're the best. They used to come on a radio show all the time, and just used to see them. They actually had us open for them at the Silver Lake Lounge. What were those, like
Oh,
those free
yeah, yeah.
Mondays?
It's great.
And that was probably the most full show we ever played. It was like packed Silver Lake Lounge on a Monday night.
That's so good.
And everyone going, "Where's the Bronx?" I'm like, okay.
I saw one thing.
No, but
sorry. I was just going to get back to Gary Panter. I saw a thing where he was
for
talking about, like, on his Instagram, people were asking where is the original, like, Red Hot Chili Pepper, record cover paintings, and he's just like, I don't know. Like, it's probably
Right?
sitting in a crate somewhere in the basement of Warner Brothers Records.
Probably. And there's so many things like that too. Like every once in a while I would get a like once I shot Queens of the Stone Age, but just like a live show.
Yeah.
But it was one of my first kind of big shooting a live show in LA and getting paid for it for like a bigger label. And I think it was for Capitol, I think. And I had broken my leg. And so I was up there on crutches, like hobbling around trying to shoot photos. And then years later, I get a package in the mail and it's like, "Hey, here's your prints from that." And it was the negatives too. And I was like, I gave them the negatives. what was I thinking?
Like, here's everything.
I had looked for those. I'm like, you never give them your negatives, but it was young. I was like, oh, I guess you paid me $1,000. I guess you get the negatives too.
Oh my God.
But yeah, they luckily I got those back in the mail because they were nice and sent them back. Like 10 years later, like just came out of a file somewhere. But yeah, I don't know how did we get on the music usage? Like,
no, I was just thinking about, I don't know. I'm just so
thing.
curious about those. I guess because it's a thing that I'm always like, we're talking about, if you design a Pee-wee's shirt, do you own who does the design or who does the thing? And again, yeah, I mean, eventually people just say, oh yeah, I'm being paid to give you the image, and the image belongs to you, the band, usually. But so it is a simple conversation to have. If you're doing a project with friends, I guess anyone still listening to this, or, you could just have a conversation like, hey, I want to use this for everything. And so I want to pay you for your art. Here's $500, or negotiate the price, or say, here's $10 or whatever it is that makes sense. And you just say, but knowing I paid you this, now this art is this intellectual property that is this art is going to belong to me. That isn't to say, you become the next Ed Sheeran or Katy Perry or something. And, that person can't come back and sue you. I think that's the other side of it too. It's like, if you take a photo of somebody on the street, legally that's your photo, right? And you're in public space and you own it, but you put it on a t-shirt and maybe that still works, but then you sell it to Clorox bleach and now they are making money from using it in an ad. Now that's not okay. You know what I mean? There's levels like, but I own the photo. That's all belongs to me. Yes, but there's things depicted in that photo that don't belong to you. You took a photo of someone else's intellectual property, which is their face or their painting that they're holding in their hands that you just happen to snap on the street. Like you just can't disseminate that and exploit that to no ends. Right?
Yeah. And as long as it's a photo that is taken in public and you are only selling the photo. So you're selling it as an image of your photography. For the most part, that is okay. And it was taken in a public space and it wasn't like,
hence the rise of like paparazzi. This is the rise of paparazzi people. Their whole business is to find somebody of note in public and they can shoot as many photos as they can and try to sell that image to somebody or
to the magazines.
Yeah.
But only to magazines. Which is even weirder though, because then the magazine is technically like writing about it and it's technically as a very commercial venture.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know really what like a magazine, cause like that, I feel like that's a little bit of a gray area when it's because the only reason it's an interesting photo is because of that person. I don't know.
It's not like
it's
it's not a street photographer magazine. Yeah. This isn't just man on the street.
I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to get into that.
We're not lawyers.
A million photographers being like, that's
my livelihood.
And I would say that I would be like, I would always go on the rights of the photographer to take the photo and show it as a photo as photography. But yeah, the t-shirt thing is weird because I know like, when like say a really famous Ed Templeton photo of like the girl smoking or like any of those photos that he's taken that are like super iconic photos, but you're putting it on a t-shirt If he's selling it as like an Ed Templeton t-shirt, I think it would be fine. Like
Oh,
it's
right,
his
right.
thing. But if he's selling it as a toy machine t-shirt, I think that would be
That crosses over.
different.
Interesting.
I think so, because
It's
you're
a
like selling
product. It's
skateboards
endorsing a
with it.
product rather than the art.
You're selling
Treating
a
it the
skateboard
image.
with it. But if he
Right,
had a
right.
famous photo that was his, and he's like, no, I'm doing images, or an image that Deanna took or something, and that goes along with a photo show that they're doing, and it's just a t-shirt of their photo but without connecting it to a different brand. I think that would be fine.
Yeah.
So I think that's where like that weird line is, which is like, I don't know, someone just made up the lines at some point, because like you have to make up the line somewhere, because if not, then no one has any rights. Then everyone would just steal your photo and use it on a skateboard, and which skateboard
Happens.
companies have also done for years.
Yeah.
Maybe skateboarding is a bad example of that, but like
but
something
at the
like
end of the
Nike or
day,
something,
yeah, but at the end of the day too, I mean, all of this is really just a rich person's game, in that if you think someone stole your intellectual property, say you have a name of a band or a name of a record, and a company comes out with another band or another product that's the name of that record on it,
Yeah.
you got to get a lawyer and have that lawyer talk to their lawyer or something, or you write them yourself and they can just ignore you and say nothing. It's nothing until you're in a court of law, and then you go, well, who has more money? And even if you were in the correct space, you would only win if the lawyer you hired thought there was enough money in damages that they could take the lion's share of it for themselves.
Yeah.
Because now you've just you contracted a bigger bully to go to beat up their bully. And you at the end of the day will probably see some money, X amount of money, but will it be more than 50% of whatever money comes in? Probably not.
Yeah.
That's how big bullies work.
Well,
Because what are you going to do? Sue them about it? You got to get
this started happening with some big like graffiti writers who had done things that were bigger than graffiti, were like more like street art, like a big mural.
Mm-hmm.
And then like one of the big stores would do a photo shoot, which would be in public but in front of that person's mural, and then use it for their ad campaign, and showing like their model wearing whatever clothes, and then the majority of the background is a mural that an artist did, but they got the okay from the building to do that or whatever, and
right.
they sued him.
But the artist who may illegally have put their design on that person's building that they don't own owns the rights to that design in the space of commercial exploitation of it.
Well, and it's a tough one too, because if the artist also had the legal like legally did it on the building, and the building okayed it for them to actually do the piece, and even if they got the property owner's permission to shoot there, they got like a location permit to shoot there, they technically, it would be like if there was a billboard on there, like a Coca-Cola billboard, you can't, even if that's on the person's property, you can't use a Coca-Cola billboard in the background of a Nordstrom's ad.
Right.
They were then, I think that was the argument where the artists were like, yeah, but this is me doing a piece of my artwork. Like you can't have a Andy Warhol's Marilyn Monroe poster in the back of yours. Like even if that's on the side of the building and it's just out in public, you can't have that there. So, and I think it's cool. I'm like, you know what? They're not wrong. This is like, make the corporations pay for all that stuff. Come up with your own ideas.
Yeah. Right. I guess. And that's the thing of it all too. Yeah. It's like, you can, or pay them. Or pay them appropriately.
That's what I mean. That's like
pay
talk
them
to that person.
or make your
their
own
name
thing.
is right at the bottom of it. Yeah. There's that at whoever it is.
Yeah.
Hit them up and like, well, then we're gonna have to pay. Well, then shoot somewhere else. It's not. that's the whole thing. You are gonna have to pay. And like, if you want to work with those artists, like some of those artists are really big artists, and some of the buildings, the reason that they have those artists paint on their buildings is because it ups the value of the property around it. And they're smart about it. Like they pay that artist sometimes they don't, they just give them the space, but it ups their cool factor. It ups their value. It
Sure.
ups their
That's why you want to do it.
stores,
Yeah.
whatever,
Street
all
cred.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Street cred.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in the world of AI and all of these, I mean, these stories are just going to become more and more relevant, or the more, just understanding your intellectual property as a person. I don't know, just this is a weird topic to get in the back end of this conversation. However, I do think it's interesting. To me, I'm always constantly like, who owns the thing that does it's like, but it is a game of like, it becomes checkers eventually. You go, well, that person owns this, so they could do this and this and this and that.
Yeah.
You eventually figure it out. I will keep it all anonymous just for politeness sake. But there was a band that we knew, and we went up with them on tour, and they had a shirt, and we're like, oh, that shirt looks cool. And it kind of looks like this artist that we knew. And they're like, and then the band said, oh yeah, I asked that artist if they would draw a shirt for me to take on tour. And that person wanted X amount of money, whatever, $1,000, wanted to get paid. Like, yeah, I will make you a custom piece of art for you to use on your shirt, and you sell your shirts, and it's all the money from the shirts goes to you, but you got to pay me, a couple grand, whatever it was, probably something like that. And the artist didn't like that, or didn't have, or the band was like, oh, we don't want to pay that much money. So then they had someone in the band's girlfriend do a design that looked like the artist design. Yeah. And they did it. And it was there was the whole thing. Part of that. I was like, that just sucks. I don't know. I get it. But again, I see all parties involved. I see how we got to this point. I see why we're now looking at this shirt, and you go, well, okay. All right. I wish I didn't know that story, I guess. I guess you could have just been inspired by, you're like, oh yeah, my girlfriend loves that guy's art. She did this one. There's that way of telling the story. Which is maybe true or not true, but here, the financial part of it is like, nah, that sucks.
Yeah.
You should have paid the artist, or just done something totally different, or just had the girlfriend do her own art and just be like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're going to get to the point to where you're going to ask the artist, then you either have to take the yes or the no.
Right.
Like if it's yes, but $500, then you have to fork out the $500 if you want to do it.
Yeah.
And if it's no, you have to come up with a different idea that is not similar to that idea.
Yeah. It's funny how even in this day and age, in 2026, $500 still goes a long way in the creative, like, hey, I'm paying you this. It's, it's a bit of a marker. It's a bit of a token or something. It's like, I don't know what this is. Not in a commercial world, but from artist to artist or creative to creative. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you're going, I have $500 to give you for this. Is that something that, I know it's not enough, but it's just, it's an official amount of money that feels like, okay, cool. Like, I've done like session work to where I've like worked on other people's records, and they're like, oh, I want to pay you. I'm like, no. I'm stoked just to play. They're like, no. Here's $500. And then, so whatever I wrote that day, whatever I recorded, like it was already an official, like, that all belongs to you. I'm just stoked to be on your record. But then the $500 is cements it as a commercial transaction, where it's like, oh yeah, anything I wrote, if I wrote a song that day, anything I did, that was a work for hire. I played in your recorded space, for 12 hours, and everything that you have there, I created, was my IP, but I'm selling it. I sold it to you for $500. Cool. Fine. If that makes everybody happy, that's great. But I guess I'm saying, if you want to hire people, if you have $500, you probably could get a lot of, you probably have access to a lot of cool creative people. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? If you're out there and you're looking to hire some cool creatives and you got a couple $100, make an offer. All you can hear is say no.
It also like creates a relationship, even if it's not much, even if someone, and also if someone says $500 and you go, okay, we have 300. It's also possible that someone will be like, sure, I won't give you that drawing, but I got this other little one, or something like that. Or it's always a negotiation. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's something that I didn't learn until much later. That like when someone gives you a high price, like, well, you're negotiating.
Yeah.
So,
but you got to be cool though, too, in the same sort of way where like, fuck you, totally. I want that art for half the price you just said. Well,
but also you can go, our budget is this. Do you have anything smaller, or like, sorry, it can't work out, but hopefully maybe the next record will have a higher budget, whatever. Sure. And it's very possible that person will also stay in contact, and you'll be able to work on something smaller later that you can throw them a couple $100, or you might actually have the $500 6 months down the road and go, hey, we got the money, let's do it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I think that it is all conversations, and like the transactions are, I think I heard someone say this, like you should always try to pay people the most that you can, because when you try, or whatever that they're asking for, or whatever you think, whatever the market rate is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, that like giving someone a good price, it makes people feel better about the work that they're going to do if they haven't done it, or if you're buying something that's already there, it 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 like cements a relationship of like, we're professionals,
Mm.
like we're doing a real thing. This isn't like a little
A
kids
favor.
like,
We're not
oh,
running a
okay,
lemonade
we're doing a
stand.
favor,
Yeah.
because there's only so many favors
Right.
until you get favored out. And also like when you're doing too many favors, also like the worst is when you're doing too many favors, and then when they get the money, they go with the person that's like above you a little bit.
Oh, right.
And they
right.
go like, well, now we have the money, so we're actually going to go with this other person. And you're like, oh,
Well,
but I did all those favors. So they're like, well, we don't really want to work with the favors guy.
Yeah.
We want to work with the guy who's asking us to pay $2,000.
Yeah. Well,
Which is just it's a very true thing that happens, and it's also doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But
that's how the guy who becomes the $2,000 guy is created, by getting burned on just doing the $500 favors. You created the $2,000 artist now. Like, aha. Yeah.
But I do think like paying someone, like trying to get as much money to help the people that are creating the things that you need help with.
Yeah.
Is the smartest thing you can do down the line. Because when you look at years later and you go, wait, really? We couldn't have all put together $60 to make sure that person got paid $500 instead of $200. Like we could have come up with $60 a piece to do that.
Sure.
And then we could have had that shirt that would have been a legendary shirt for our band 10 years
stands
later.
the test of time.
It would have been
it's
like
the cool
one,
thing. Yeah.
Right?
Or maybe, yeah. Or it's an interesting kind of crossover between two legitimate artists. I think that's the thing too, especially, I mean, if you're working, I mean, here we are, in a world that's crushing everybody from all sides for
Right.
dollars and donuts. But if you have money, if you have a budget to a project and you can afford to hire talented people and pay them what they're asking, you ultimately, it is an investment, because the stuff that they go on to do now reflects better on your projects. And the chances are you'll look back on it, just based with our crushing inflation, statistics. The holy shit, you got that person for $2,000? That's insane. They charge $50,000 now. And wow, look what a great deal you got 5 years ago for working with this person who's in the top of their field now. But wow, you must have been really cool, a cool band at the time to hire such a cool producer, recorder, engineer, space, venue, artist, whatever that is. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, okay. There's a lot of those types of things, if anybody's in that creative field, and if they're good, and that's why you want to hire them, because they're good, they're worth what they're asking, and you're gonna look cool down the road that you paid them that money. Usually, if you got good taste.
Well, and I think it will add to it adds to your story too, when those people that you worked with, because of whatever reason, when whoever makes it farther in different ways, those stories trickle down to be like, your band or your project was always part of that person also, like making those leaps and bounds too. And I think that kind of helps everybody. And
it is that thing too, even within like a cultural community. It's like, oh shit, you're the band who had money. Maybe you're like a kind of lame major label band, but you hired these cool people to be on your record, or you hired this cool artist to do the thing. Like, that's a solid. I can respect that you paid this underground artist a bunch of money to make your t-shirt for your tour, even though your band kind of sucks or your music sucks, but it was cool that you hired that person. And the cool part was that you paid them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cause then that's the word gets out within creative communities. If you're trying to lowball somebody, you know what I mean? If you're a big band or a brand or a ad agency or marketing company or something, and you're like, oh, I'm going to get a good deal. And it's like, that's going to come back to bite you. in so many ways. You know what I mean? By putting in lowball offers, your word gets around. Like, oh, this guy sucks. He's putting a lowball offer.
Yeah, and it is only it really is your reputation that
you have.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that it really is, after all of the stuff that you've done, even if you're still doing things like that, your reputation is just there. The stories that people have of you, like how you acted and how you treated people, and all of those things are the only thing that keep you going in any kind of creative field, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we blew past that hour mark a little while back, but we're having fun. We're getting into legalese. I want to know about your IP. If you are an IP lawyer out there, if you know about these things or you have questions, you should write us hyphenate@gmail.com. You can find Aaron Farley at Aaron Farley on Instagram. I am at Randy S. Randall. And if you want to collaborate, if you're a cool artist or you're a cool band, you want to collaborate, you want to make something cool, hit us up. You can find us hyphenate@gmail.com. We are available to have conversations. It's funny. I'll come out and say too here, embedded at the end of the episode. Oftentimes I listen to podcasts and I think I want to be on that podcast as a guest. and I never do anything about it because I don't know how to do that. I'm not against being solicited. Some of the guests, have been solicited people who said, hey, I want to be a guest on the podcast. If you think you have an interesting story, it's not guaranteed 100% that I will say yes, but I will look at it. I will look at you. I will look at your Instagram or whatever you hit me up on, or your story. And, I like hearing cool stories and meeting cool people. So I'm throwing that out there with this email, hyphenate@gmail.com. I think it gets forwarded to an email address I do use. I think somewhere in there, I got to make sure I'm checking this thing, but, or find me on Instagram, find Aaron on Instagram, and we'll discuss it and figure it out. So it's a fun idea. I do want to throw that out there because I often think like right now I'm listening to a Rockford Files podcast by two dudes in Canada that I think are probably in their 70s or 60s. And the one son is on it.
Amazing.
And they go through episode by episode, breaking down the Rockford Files. And every time I listen to one, I get to the end and I'm like, I should write them. I want to be a guest. They never have guests on. That's the thing. It's really just the three of them talking about Rockford Files.
They've probably never been asked.
It's true.
I'm honestly, like, never.
It's the podcast is called $200 a day plus expenses, which is what Jim says to everybody. That's what he gets paid to be a private eye in 1975, which was high at the time. I think he says that it's almost like a joke, $200 a day plus expenses, and everyone always laughs at him. Yeah, everyone laughs at him, but he's trying, but he never really gets paid. This is kind of the other side of the joke at the end of the episode. Like, well, I'll get you next time, good buddy. Sorry, there was no money on this one.
Doesn't he live in a trailer down by the beach?
Yeah, Pacific. No, what's it called? Paradise Cove. Have you ever been there where there's a restaurant right there and a big parking lot right on the ocean? Yeah. His double wide, which
got a little trailer.
The exterior is parked there. And I think the interior is probably shot somewhere in the Radford Studios, but but in theory, he's got a brand new Trans Am, which I guess at the time was the least expensive version of the Camaro, or what I mean. So he wanted to have like a more working man's car, but it didn't come in gold. They never offered it in that gold that he has, but that is a gold that was painted. It was a stock color on the Cadillacs. So Jim Garner, the actor, and he was a producer on the show too. So he picked out that car as a working man's car, a car this character could afford, but he did plus it up just enough with the stock paint color in it. It's an iconic car. We've talked about this, but anyway, I've reached the end of the Rockford TV show myself, and I got to say the last two seasons really shit the bed. They really jumped the shark. but there are 3 to 4 really solid like 1 hour little mystery movies that are great. It's like it stands up with a Columbo or Murder, She Wrote or anything else, but just seeing the LA in the background is like the biggest co-star of the thing. Jim Garner's endlessly charming and a great actor and just so much fun to watch. He's so easy to watch. But LA in 1975 is like almost, it's like a neck and neck race, just seeing every intersection, every gas station, every car, every extra,
like
every building,
just
street
traffic.
corner. There is traffic, but
I mean, a little bit.
There's just, it's shot on film. You know what I mean? It's this like color processed, saturated colored film. And you just go like, that's the corner of Laurel Canyon in Ventura, what now 50 years ago. But it's alive. It's happening. There's things happening in the background. It's almost like, I think if you went through and airbrushed like James Garner and the gold Trans Am out of everything, they almost look like, they look like those Ed Ruscha, kind of things going down Sunset Boulevard. It's like, you just see this like captured in warm, golden hued 70s color film, footage, but it's alive and it's moving and things are happening. And you're just like, that's crazy. And it's so little of it is on set. They really shot so much on location around Hollywood and the Valley and out to the beaches down to Long Beach and San Pedro. I don't know. Everything smells like cigarettes too. Just in your mind as you're watching it, just like, oh yeah, this is all soaked in nicotine.
And again, looking back and seeing things that like when I'm sure when they shot it, they're like, all right, we got Wednesday, we shot it. Let's go. Okay, let's move to a second location. Like it's no big deal. And now you watch it and you're like, this is history. This will never look like this ever again.
Oh yeah. We'll
never feel like that ever again. Like,
those shows compared to whatever is coming on now. And again, not to just be old man shakes fist at cloud, but you know what I mean? Like modern media just is streaming shows or just, it's such a different, entity in so many ways for different purposes. Whereas this stuff's all free on like Tubi or YouTube or all these, free old people TV sites. Roku TV has a whole, like just seasons and seasons, thousands of hours of cool old LA footage. And again, maybe it's the LA historian in me or just the kid, like looking out the cab of his dad's, smoke filled Toyota pickup truck, driving around. This is like, oh, this is great. I love all of this stuff. Like,
so good.
Because you could picture there's Exene and John Doe walking down the street. This is the world, that created Black Flag. This is the world that created the germs. This is the world. You know what I mean? It's just it's all there. Those settings. You know what I mean? Of what was being written about or what was inspiring. Like you said, it's that stuff that's the Coke cup in the back of the shot when he's getting a 20-cent taco, under a green Formica, umbrella with, fiberglass, orange fiberglass, tables we used to have when we were kids, just all those little things, those little details you see in the guy's snakeskin, cowboy boots over purple, wide-legged jeans in the background, just happening, just the two extras talking back there and that rapper and the truck that drives by. Like, this is cool.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Okay. Well, that was fun. That was a good one. More to come. Here we go, sliding into summer. I don't have any theme months planned. Maybe we should think of another theme month. That recording theme was good. It's like it blocked me out for a while. Yeah. All right. Maybe next week. Or do we have a summer blockbuster extravaganza? Are you can you take another film themed assignment? Do you have time?
I can do my best.
We're going into summertime here. Do we look at block?
Yeah, I feel like I'll have more time in the summer. I can watch a movie in the morning.
Okay.
Before I do anything.
Okay. I'll give homework assignments maybe next halftime episode. We'll pull out some of our favorite must watch things. Our oldest son is turning 13 this year, and I have a list of things that he has to watch. Most of them being John Carpenter movies. So I don't know if we got it in us, just a John Carpenter summer, or maybe we could just have show. What if we just did the 1976 summer, turning 50 years this year. That's sort of right in that sweet spot between Jaws and Star Wars, 1976. Yep. I don't know. I don't have off the top of my head like a catalog of the best films of 76. But I'm sure we could come up with
there's a lot of good ones, right? Yeah. You can come up with them.
I'll figure it out. Okay. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do 50 years of the blockbuster movie.
You have your list for your son and you can make your list for me.
There we go. Yeah. Right for my other son. There we go. 50 years.
Yeah.
15,
for your creative son who needs to watch old movies.
Well, this was always the thing too about like, when I think about the podcast and the formats and everything, like I would say 90% of the podcasts I listen to are about movies in one way or another, like usually bad movies, because those are just so much more fun to hear people talk about and make fun of and pick apart. But then, but I do listen to interview podcast forums, and I do listen to the Friends just making fun of stuff and talking shit podcasts. So that's the one that's probably the third leg of the chair I don't have nailed down is the film podcast in me, which I would, I'm constantly like, oh, I want to go on other people's film podcasts. I want to talk about movies.
Well, you can practice here.
So yeah, I'll experiment. I'll experiment on you here until
you're like, then
I feel confident enough to have a Randy Randall Film School. This was the joke when my wife first moved in with me. She's like, "Oh gosh, I get to attend the Randy Randall Film School," said in jest and horror.
That's amazing.
I was like, I don't know everything about movies. I definitely not, but I'm a fan. The things I do like, I'm a fan of. I can talk passionately about the films I do like and why I like them.
Yeah,
but
love it.
There's a lot of stuff out there. Awesome, man. Okay. All right.
I'm here for
it. Have a good week, everybody. Write us hyphenate@gmail.com, at Aaron Farley on Instagram, at Randy S. Randall. Fuck Trump. Be well.